Eko nene. So history ya Somalis in Minnesota na stories of fraud inafanya jina Kenya inaendelea kuwa mentioned, and I don't know what's going to happen because he come to his story of course. Alafu tukianza kufikiria pia juu ya stories za Ruto za ku open up the borders, it becomes a very interesting scenario. Why? Because right now Kenya is being mentioned, and Kenya is being mentioned as the place that say like the Somalis huko wakisha ibado, where do they buy the property? They buy the property in Kenya. Alafu unajua wanatumia this complex system inaitangwa Hawala. So hii naweza taka sana kujua like what's going to happen to the people running Hawala kwa ground. Kaujuagi Hawala inakuwaga ni instant money transfer. Ile mtu akitaka kutuma do, let's say unataka kutuma do from US to Kenya, all that needs to happen between Kenya and US is a phone call. So you unataka kutuma $100 tumse yuko Kenya, so unaenda kwa the Hawala shop unapatiana $100, alafu a call is made and the recipient ule yuko Kenya anaenda na pick $100 yake. So you see there is no transfer, there is no even bank involved, so this original money is still in the US. So right now since they've been doing Hawala, what's going to happen? Will the money be recovered or not? So but wacha tusikie vile hii story ilikuwa mentioned, because kulikuwa ni ile ni Minnesota's Fraud Prevention Committee, and yes, so kulikuwa na hizi talks. Wacha tusikize ama ni inquiry.
I want to talk about use of funds. You've talked about some of these funds were used to buy property in Kenya.
Yes, sir.
Property in Turkey. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Remittances back to Somalia.
Yes.
I think it's important for the committee to understand that these remittances in part are used in what's called the Hawala. I want to make sure I have the terminology right. The Hawala network. Ms. Robbins, can you speak to what the Hawala network is?
Yes. So it's an informal network where someone goes to a Hawala place in Minneapolis, which is like a money exchange or a money sending site, and they say, I want to send X amount of dollars, and then there's a receiving site in Somalia, and they take the cash out. So money doesn't cross the border. It's an order for money here that gets transmitted to Somalia.
For the time, because I'm out of time, I want to expound. In Somalia and other parts in the Middle East region writ large.
So ubudali amua kuuliza more about Hawala, but umesikia like there's no physical money like na cross, but wasona receive. So of course hapa Kenya people are receiving the money, and the money was being used in investments in real estate. So I want to know, is this money still in the US? And if it's in the US, what happens to the Hawala places? That's interesting. Will the Hawala wherever lose their money, ama have they already moved the money outside America? But tuendelee.
Region writ large. A Hawala network is a bunch of money exchangers, hand to hand, not bank account to bank account.
Exactly.
And what is clear in Somalia and other parts is that Al-Shabaab, the largest Al-Qaeda affiliate in Somalia, they have their hands all through this network. So taxpayer money, United States dollars, that are being remitted into Somalia, in part, have been utilized or have fallen into the hands of Al-Shabaab. Do you think that's a correct assessment?
Yes, we have plenty of evidence of that, from money directly going to Al-Shabaab, but then also indirectly because they take a cut of whatever gets sent to Somalia.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I know I'm over. Thank you for the additional time.
So mecheki. So hii do Hawala, ingine inaenda up Somalia, alafu ingine inaenda up Kenya ikibuy property. And this puts Kenya at a very interesting place, because right now also let's go back to the whole open borders thing that Ruto is doing. And Ruto is doing this because he's only thinking about his presidential ambitions, and this becomes very tricky. Utasikia wasiwote wako like, oh, the other governments were very repressive and what, but you always wonder, like if you had to go back in time, you'll not find any point where Duale was screaming his head out saying, is he nini verification ama vetting, that he vetting iko unfair. He was not doing that. He waited till Ruto come up with that. And so this is all about winning an election, but you have to ask yourself, it's winning an election at what cost? Checky. at what cost? Because now if we end up with funny characters with Kenyan passport wale wameenda another country alafu wakamua kuvuruga, what happens? Sisi ndio tunakuwa affected. Why? Because sasa tukigo back to history ya Somalia ilikuwa very interesting, because you have to understand these societies do not want you there. That's number one, they don't want you there. So if you go there, you have to try and fit in. And apart from fitting in, if you go there, you have to work your ass off and pay taxes. Because if you pay taxes, then people will be like, you're pulling your weight. And that's one of the things ile mu respectigi sana juu ya raya za kawaida za Kenya. Like, wase wengi sana, waleta to join live, hapa iko nini, they talk about how they have to hustle and how they have to do this, how they have to do this. Si kama Owen wa Kenyan American Home is always telling people vile, if you go to America, all your dreams can come true if you're ready to work your ass off. But now, what happens with these Hawala people? Wacha tucheki jo. And wacha tucheki.
There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir. Could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%.
Damn. So kama ujui welfare is where you literally rely on the government for food and even housing, I think. And yes, so seka mimi kuzunguka nasikizaga like a lot of hip hop. When they talked about welfare, they used to talk about it as something to be ashamed of. Oh, I grew up na familia yangu ilikuwa inapataga welfare. It was something to be ashamed of. And it was something that you aspired to get out of. So nasikia this situation whereby hasa wametoka Somalia, wameishia US, and 81% wanapata welfare. After 10 years, only 3% wamekuwa free. 78% bado wanapata welfare. And with that in mind, it's like this is not your society. If after 10 years you've not figured it out, it's maybe time to go to another place where you figure it out. Why? Because kuja Kenya, there is no freaking welfare. You have to work your ass off. So nacheki. So hii pia ndio shida mtu havigina liberals. Because liberals ndio wamecreate society where you can't question anything. Because if you question anything, watabaki wako like, zizi una question this because of racism, una question this because of what. But there is no, saizi ukiniambia hii statistic, and naweza kuambia place kama Minnesota kuna wakisi wengi sana. Na kawe ni mkisi, ni baki umeniambia hapo. Niambie ni wakisi wangapi wale after 10 years wako on welfare. Utapata wale wako on welfare, utapata alienda, figured out their life, then maybe risked, made a few mistakes, ameenda welfare, na saizi yuko welfare, really trying to get out of welfare. But with this, it's tricky. That's when it starts looking like fraud. And apart from that, the non-assimilation, because the non-assimilation pia ilibaki may come up, but in a different way. But wacha tuendelee.
So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, when you're using the phrase native Minnesotans, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somalis.
And nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here.
Go for
so, again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half.
Scale, like, wale wameishi US for over 10 years, and how many of them speak English? Nasikia just about half. And you have to wonder, why doesn't this other half speak English? And it comes back to assimilation. And this is why assimilation is important. Assimilation is important when you go to a foreign society, because you're not home. and if you come into my house you have to play by my rules. Alafu kitu inakwaga, it's only rocket science when it comes to the western world. Otherwise ukienda Uarabuni haikuwagi rocket science. Ukienda Uarabuni hakunaga ujinga. Ukiendaga Dubai, you play by rules za Dubai. You can't do 1, you can't do 2, you can't do 3. But the western world, and this is what now liberals wame mess up, is wameifanya ikakuwa like it's open for all. You can come with your third world bullshit, ubaki umeipeleka pale, even the bad bullshit, because there's some good third world shit. The good third world shit is what? Is where you go and all you see is opportunities. And that's what a lot of people do. Unapataga like Raya Mob hapa tukifanya live na unaga msee iko kwa truck anakuambia ni aje niko kwa truck naenda hivi, mseka Malcolm. That's alipeleka that third world attitude ya this is the land of opportunities, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, but still I'm going to assimilate so I can be able to speak to these people, and I'm going to always remember this is their country, so I can't come with my bullshit. And that's very important. But when you hear that half ya haseo wametoka huko na bado hawajui kizungu, why? Because we are going to live kama sisi peke yetu, ama asingine ni wafala, their culture is inferior, the what it does is it alienates you. And you know me and stories alienation, it's gotten me in trouble before, sindio? Stories alienation. Okay, wacha tuendelee.
The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again, I keep trying
to... It doesn't sound like something that makes our country stronger to me, and I think most Americans would agree with me on that. I need to move on. Ms. Robbins, when would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on childcare fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade?
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
Hii kitu ni interesting history ati wamejua jua fraud since uko 2020 whatever, and it's interesting that these people have not acted on it, and they've not acted on it based on votes, but you'd still gain some other votes if you acted on it. I think that's the one thing that politicians sometimes forget, that they want the easy route while even the hard route can work. The same way Musemaga, like if you want law and order hapa Kenya, we have to even control the border sector, najua. And will you lose a few votes? Yes. But will you gain other votes? Yes. You'll gain votes from Kenyans who are tired of being scared on the road, where they don't know if people are keeping left or keeping right, where at any point mtu ata come from any side. All that nonsense has to stop. And for it to stop, it's going to come at a cost. But if you're always worried about votes, you forget that most people that vote are not boda riders. The same way at hapo Minnesota, most people that vote are not Somali immigrants. They are just natives wa huko. So you can still do the right thing. But wacha tuendelee.
And what was the Walz administration's response?
They actually did nothing when they got into office, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had been on the committee in the legislature that had hearings on childcare fraud, and when they got into office, they did put $5 million into a little more money, but nothing changed.
But nothing. And let me ask you, Mr. Hudson, thank you for being here. Did those who commit this fraud, do they typically vote for Republicans or Democrats, in your opinion?
In my opinion, thank you for qualifying it like that, I would say they most definitely overwhelmingly vote for Democrats.
Do they typically donate to Republicans or Democrats?
Not to my knowledge. They don't donate to Republicans, they donate to Democrats, in my opinion, yes.
Got it. So would you say this is the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
And you come to Kenya, when Ruto thinks about zero vetting, that's the same thing that he's doing. Najua, wale watu wametoka Somalia, they're going to come and vote for him. But will it make Kenya a better country? No, it won't. It won't make Kenya a better country. And Ekonene, so the festive season is here. Na Lemfi wako na a very great offer kwako. Abaki umesign up ukitumia the promo code Ekonene, and on your first transaction ya $50 ukisend home, unabaki umepata a $20 sign up reward. Najua, $20 sign up reward on your first transaction of $50 only. Why? Because it's the festive season. baki umechangamka, tumia promo code iko nini, ingia Lemfi, why upate the most competitive exchange rates, alafu pia inakuwa ni chap like transactions ziko instant. Changamka haraka Lemfi, international payments for everyone. So if come to story, of course, like there was a whole article on Nation about it, and the story ilikuwa ni Minnesota fraud, alafu ikakuwa ni unmasking Capital View Properties, the Nairobi firm that received millions. So yes, so kuna mpaka the story of now the firm hapa Kenya wala walikuwa na receive your dough either through the Hawala system or even through maybe bank transfers. So ilikuwa ni on February 24th 2021, a Wednesday, when the Daily Nation front page was about 38 county assemblies approving the Building Bridges Initiative bill, the Registrar of Companies in Nairobi allowed the formation of a firm called Capital View Properties Limited. It looked like a regular company registration application, but this was a firm with 1,000 ordinary shares owned by 5 individuals who are both directors cum shareholders. According to a search we conducted on January 7th, the 5 are Zaitun Garat Abni Nur with 150 shares, Abdullahi Malim Aftin 150, Abdi Wahab Malim Aftin 100, Abdi Fatah Malim Aftin 500, and Abdigani Malim Fatin. This looks like a family, I'm guess. Aftin 100. The company's registered offices is in Nairobi South Sea, Ole Shapara Road, and it has no encumbrances, meaning it has no loans that have been taken in its name. Damn. Then nasemekana it didn't take long for the backstory of the company to come to the fore, as it would later feature in court proceedings in the United States for having received some of the nearly $300 million, which is 38.7 billion, stolen from American taxpayers in the name of feeding needy children during the COVID pandemic. Then ikaendelea, Abdiaziz is currently serving a 28-year prison term that will be followed by 3 years of supervised release. Then ikakuwa, besides the 36-year-old is required to pay the US government 47.9 million ama 6.1 billion in restitution. Huni ule msee alikuwa ameandikiaga boy fulani alikuwaga hizi maeria. Huo boy I think saizi pia alichukuliwa kaenda US. Ule alikuwa anaambiwaga, you are going to be the richest 25-year-old in the world. Yuraiko. It was not in the world, like, but in Kenya, Yuraiko zile za inshallah whatever. Yurail baki imechukuliwa ikapelekwa huko. So ikakuwa on May 4th 2021, just 3 months after Capital View Properties was registered, he sent 26.4 million shillings to the company. Hiyo ilikuwa ni that dude. Then ikakuwa tena ni on May 11th he wired another 300,000. Damn, kuna pesa hapa jo. He wired another 300,000, which is 38.7 million, while on June 1st he sent another 26.6 million. This brought the term from the US-based Abdi Aziz to Capital View to 91.7 million Kenyan shillings. And hizi ndio zile raya, so napata gaso walikuwa na receive, unaweza sikia wakikwambia, be a businessman, yes, we all have 24 hours. Acheki. Then kiendelea, with nearly 100 million received from Abdi Aziz, it's not clear how Capital View Properties invested the money. Acheki. So hii ndio story ina happen, but history of fraud, it's going to affect us in a way, because the property that's bought, it's bought in Kenya. That's number one. But apart from that, right now we have open borders, so there's going to be a lot of people with a Kenyan passport, and that's also going to dilute the Kenyan passport. Mechiki place kama US saizi, like even one of the things that they've done is wamesema nini, like US yenyewe wamesema that hawezi enda TZ, watu wa TZ hawezi enda US saizi, like they've been blocked. And this is going to happen to us if we keep doing this nonsense that our president is doing of open borders. Why? To just win an election. And I don't know, but if you had to ask me, and when I say this, a lot of people get pissed off na mimi, but mi afadhali aibe kura than haribu inchi. Najua kuiba kura ni kuharibu inchi, but kudilute the Kenyan experience and kudilute our nationality to a certain level that we'll start worrying about things that we've never worried about. I don't think it's a good thing. Nacheki. And that's the same thing that's happening right now huko Minnesota, where the liberals are now wondering like what the hell is happening. Because when you have people, hiyo ni kama hapa Kenya, when you find ile time kulikuwa na wale watu yuko natembea wanakanyaga flag yetu, and you're there like utakanyaga hadi flag ya Kenya. Kenya imekupatia a chance, umetoka a place where kulikuwa na vita, umekuja hapa, tumekuinvite in, the least that you can do is put a smile on your face and say thank you. But no, kuja hapa wanakanyaga flag, wanaikick. Na yeah, what is that called? The lack of assimilation, where unakuja kwa society and you feel like your culture is superior. Na hiyo culture unasema iko superior, sa hiyo umetoka from another country that had war and had that pure culture. So it's showing you that that culture is not as superior as you think. Why? Because in a homogeneous society, you'd expect that culture to keep you intact, and it didn't. So I don't know what's going to happen to Kenya, but hizi vitu zote ziko intertwined. Whatever is happening in Minnesota, na ile kitu ina happen hapa. Na history ya Minnesota, I think it's a very simple solution. Inafaa kwa tu nile interviews, just interview people. Umekuwa hapa for how long? This amount of time. Unizongea kizungu? No. Hii time umekuwa hapa, umekuwa communicate na family in Somalia? Yes. Sawa. Acha tukuweke kwa plane urudi, because this is not your country. Umekuwa hapa for how long? This amount of time, maybe even 5 years. Hii time unizongea kizungu? Yes. Unaweza interact na other people apart from people from your community? Yes. Stay. Alafu that's how you handle it. Wase liberals watasema it's racism, it's what, but there's a reason why these societies are stable, and they're stable because people are united, and people are united beyond their small ethnicities. So yes, there be the big chunks of whites, blacks, Latinos, Indians, Asians. Yes, hizo zitakuwa, but they still be like a unifying factor of America, the country where you go and your wildest dreams can come true. Now watu yo ushindagua, why is Africa always invested in what happens in America? I'll say it for the umpteenth time. Without Kenyans in America, Nini would not exist. Najua, like, I think it would have died a long time ago. But because a few Kenyans left this country and went there, and they worked hard, and then Nini started, and they felt like it was bringing some value into their lives, and with that they supported it monetarily, and it ended up being what it is. And I have to say thank you to them, and I also have to protect them and hope that that Kenyan passport, every time that they use it, they know that they're using it from a country that does not promote bullshit. Nacheki. And yeah, that's just it. So wanna feel Nini juu story. Kuna sona sema that prices za apartments zitabaki zime go down hapa Nairobi. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I think there's enough dirty money in Nairobi to still keep the property prices high. That's just my 2 cents. Would I be happy if the properties went down? Na kumechikia kiwatso na kwa some of the properties zinaweza go down by up to 45%. If that was to happen, tunaweza baki tume dance kabisa. Eko nene.